On U2's Rattle and Hum Live album, just before the band plays Helter Skelter, Bono says something memorable. This is a song that Charles Manson stole from the Beatles. We're playing it back. Maybe one day we can say the same about Donald Trump's Republican Party. I may be one of the few people holding out hope of being recaptured. Over the last 20 years, I have written hundreds of thousands of words about controversial issues from immigration to abortion. But none of these posts raised as much doubt as my last post about why I still consider myself a conservative Republican. Most of the letters I received were thoughtful and sincere. In an email exchange, a political orphan named Randy said, "Your column has given me hope. I appreciate it." Another reader named Ron found column interesting, and added, "However, the basics of staying with Republican Party, I think your assumption misses an important point. The party abandoned you." While this may be true, membership in the party of Abraham Lincoln, Theodore Roosevelt, and Ronald Reagan does not imply implicit support for Trump or his policies. Very few people can grasp this point. Some people say you should never publicly criticize your team or political wing. But as with family, I don't think we should immediately abandon our past ties or give them up entirely. It's also worth asking whether the GOP has been irreparably lost just 20 years ago. The Republican spirit spoke of compassionate conservatism, spreading democracy. Times are changing and pendulums are swinging back forth. As you can imagine, many readers, even those sympathetic to my center-right politics, preferred the Democratic Party because good-hearted Joe Biden is the presumptive nominee. If I had to choose between living under the woke left or living under the MAGA right, I'd have to think hard about it. But that's not the choice right now. Ken wrote, "The lie of the stolen election and the January 6th insurrection are hard to justify from Burke's perspective. Who are the French revolutionaries in this picture?" Ken, like many readers, called it ironic that I mentioned the English parliamentarian Edmund Burke, whom I compared to Thomas Paine. Admittedly, some found my mention of 18th century philosophers for a 750-word political column esoteric or pretentious. I mentioned Burke to show that our two political worldviews come with deep assumptions about human nature. And while Trump-era Republicans have unfortunately strayed from Burke's philosophy, creating a vacuum where conservatism once stood, many on the left have not strayed from his radical, non-Burkean worldview. America needs at least one political party to control this more radical left ideology. One more reason for people like me continue fighting for the GOP to return its conservative roots. But for some reason, many people think that identifying as a Republican means they should support Trump. Frankly, I do not agree with this worldview. Just being at a part